Once again, General and Mrs. Powell.
All the screens are blank. This means I'll just have to make it up as I go along. No big deal. It's been a wonderful day, hasn't it? Yes, sir. We've had some incredible presentations. And I hope you all leave here motivated and inspired. And we have one last presentation we'd like to make this afternoon. There'll be more this evening. But for all the years that I've been associated with America's Promise since the summit in 1997, I have always sought out those individuals who are prepared to take their time, their treasure, and their talent to help others. And nobody has done this with more effectiveness in both New York and North Carolina than George Weiss with his YES program. Let me just call it YES. You know what it's all about. He has essentially promised to young people, if you stay in school, if you stick to it, if you never quit, then I will see that you get a proper education in due course. That's what made this program so successful. It's what made George such a remarkable individual and such a contribution to the work of the America's Promise Alliance. It reminds me of something we used to look for in the Army. When we went to an all-volunteer force in the early 1970s, we started to insist that we really have to have soldiers who are high school graduates for two principal reasons. One, these young men and women bring in more education and make them easier for us to train into an Army specialty. But the real benefit of those high school graduates is that they had simply graduated. They had the guts, they had the determination, they had the fortitude not to quit, not to drop out, as we no longer call it, but not to leave. And if they were that kind of young person, we wanted them in the military. We wanted people who could learn, and also people who stuck with it when the going got rough. And as we have seen here today, the going is rough in many of our communities, among so many of our children. But with the dedication that you all have given to this effort and your presence here today, and the work of people like George Weiss, we're going to solve this problem. We're going to make sure that all of our children get a high school education as a minimum, and then let them go on to whatever future it is awaiting them. And we also understand that with that discipline, it's a discipline that they can take into the workplace, they can take into a college. We can't let them down. If they don't finish high school, if they don't get the kind of care and supporting demonstrated by these 5 promises, then we are not doing our service to them, but most importantly, we are not providing a service to our great country, America. And George Weiss is one of those champions who is helping us do that, and I'd like to invite him to come forward now to be recognized.
Met George Weiss and had the opportunity to learn more about Say Yes to Education, I was struck by the similarities between our organizations, our missions, and our method. Like America's Promise, Say Yes understands that we must focus not just on the compartmentalized world of classrooms, but on the whole child. Together, we understand that we must also focus on whole communities. We must build strong community-wide partnerships because that's how sustainable change happens. Last month, I had the privilege of joining Say Yes to Education as they celebrated their 30th anniversary. And today, George is with us as we mark our 20th anniversary. But we're here right now to mark more than just milestones. Our organizations move in parallel orbits around the fixed star of promise, so it is fitting that we take the next step together. It is fitting that we move together beyond shared purpose to shared effort. And so today, we are so proud to announce a partnership between America's Promise and Say Yes to Education. Together, we are forming an institute that will bring together the best thinking, the latest research, and community-tested strategies, all to serve communities across the country that seek to help more of their students get on a path to higher education and beyond. We are so excited about what the Weiss Institute will mean for our cause and for our children. And so, at this time, I'd like you to hear more from the man whose work inspired it all and whose name it will bear, George Weiss.
Thank you, Alma. Thank you, General. This is about the second time in the last 30 days that I've had the privilege of being with Alma. And I have to say, your warmth, your charm, your caring is very, very inspirational. Thank you for that. Briefly, let me touch on Say Yes. Say Yes is a holistic approach. It's a citywide approach. We now have a little over 130,000 kids in our program. And it shares a very, similar theme to America's Alliance. It's about hope, it's about increasing expectations. The other thing that we have that is really kind of very, very special to our program, we have 103 private colleges, some of the greatest universities in the country, that offer all of our kids a free tuition scholarship. So it's a great partnership, and my hat goes out to them. The American's Promise, as everybody knows in this room, really shares those same hopes and vision as I indicated, working with roughly 400 organizations for that same goal, to make sure the young men and women, will graduate high school. And as I said to Alma when we met for the second time, I said, what's really nice about this partnership is when you get two great organizations working together without ego, look at all the great you can do in this world. So I'm really looking forward to that opportunity. A few years ago, I was asked to give this speech about the equal opportunity of a college education. And the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. There is no equal opportunity for the kids in the inner city. And I'm going to tell you two stories of one of a young woman in our program who's now 42, 43 years of age, and a male counterpart, same age group. Shamika Brown was probably a 130-pound young lady in our program, a senior in high school, and she was president of her class, an honor roll student. She gets arrested for assaulting this big Philadelphia policeman. And so I called her to talk about her anger. She said, Mr. Weiss, I know your younger daughter speaks fluent Spanish, but I'm in my senior year of high school, 4th year of Spanish, and they're teaching me to count to 10. She says, you're damn right I'm angry, Mr. Weiss. So I ask you, where is the equal opportunity of a college education? Another young man by the name of Alan Alexander, second semester, senior year, an honor roll student, stops going to class. Didn't go to class for roughly 2 weeks, and I called him. I said, Alan, why aren't you going to school? He said, Mr. Weiss, since the beginning of the year, 6 of my friends have been murdered. I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, what is the equal opportunity of a college education? People have always thanked me over the years, for this gift that I've given to all these kids, and I really think they've got it reversed. I think the gift is to myself, my family, and anybody involved with Say Yes to Education. These young men and women have made us better human beings. I'm going to leave you just with one other story, and this is what's so exciting about this joint venture with American Alliance, is before we started our Hartford program a number of years ago, I was having dinner with Chuck Stone, who is an award-winning writer for the Philadelphia Daily News, and his sister, who was the librarian of Hartford High. And she was telling me a story of a young lady that was salutatorian of her class that didn't go to college because she didn't have $1,000. Look at a disgrace. Now that young lady, was on welfare, had 2, 3 kids, and look at the message it sends to the, freshmen and sophomores at that high school. Why study? You're not going to get anywhere. It sends a message of no hope. We're standing here today to send a different message. It's to send a message of hope. So I would like everybody to think, to hope, and to pray that we send a message out there to the young men and women of this country of hope. And next time we get together, instead of having the numbers that we have today, which is a tremendous amount of numbers, let's hope and pray that we have 1 million kids that we're helping a year. God bless America.